I have a condition. It's an obsession, an addiction, and a compulsion all rolled into one. Thankfully, my condition is not life threatening, but it is life altering. My condition is entirely self diagnosed, but based upon the overwhelming evidence, I feel that a medical diagnosis would be purely academic. So it's time for me to come clean about my issue. So this is my confession. My name is Mark, and I'm a diggerholic. Now, admittedly, I've been writing about demolition and construction equipment for 3.5 decades, so it's not surprising that I have a fondness for the subject. So, how do I know that my fondness has grown into an obsession? Allow me to give you a few very recent examples. I've just returned from a cruise around the Mediterranean on board the stunning Sun Princess cruise liner. My wife and I met the ship in the Italian town of Civitavecchia. Having arrived the night before on the train from Rome, we awoke on the morning of our departure, filled with eager anticipation. We weren't due to board until 11 a.m., so we had time to walk along the seafront, drink coffee, and admire the stunning and enormous ship that will be our home for 2 weeks, which docked over in the distance. But while my wife was enjoying her morning espresso and taking photos of fine Italian architecture, I was down at the water's edge watching a Manitou telescopic handler working on a coastal defence project. A few days later, we arrived in Naples. I'd opted out of the ship's Wi Fi package as I was keen to give myself a full digital detox. But as the ship docked, I spied a Caterpillar excavator working on a jetty extension. I then spent hours kicking myself for not packing my drone in order to catch some aerial footage of the machine in action. And then, perhaps the most extreme example. In Malaga, my wife and I walked barefoot along the surf line, the warm Mediterranean lapping at our ankles. To my left, children frolicked in the sea. To my right, handsome and oiled young men and beautiful, lithe, and topless young women soaked up the sun's rays. Meanwhile, my eyes were focused on a Bobcat skid steer cleaning up the beach in the distance. Now, my condition has one or two strange quirks. The first is that my obsession is very rarely tactile. I have a friend who is a musician. He's been in countless almost successful bands over the years, and he now has a collection of more than a dozen very fine and very expensive guitars. Although he has his favourites, he plays them all. Some because of how they sound, some for how they feel in his hands, and some for how their specific tone matches the mood of the song he's playing. My youngest son, Fred, has recently discovered the joys and the curse of golf. It's not unusual for him to play 5 and 6 times per week. In fact, he regularly finishes his allotted 18 holes, returns to the clubhouse, pays his money, and then plays another 18 holes immediately afterwards. Unlike my friend's guitars and my son's golf, my obsession is very rarely hands on. On the rare occasions I do get to operate machines, I do so badly. I much prefer to admire them from a distance while the true experts make them sing and dance. I am, in effect, a voyeur, the peeping Tom of the plant world. The other strange and unexpected quirk of my condition is that it is apparently contagious. My son returned from golf a few weeks ago to tell me there was a JCB mini excavator doing some course maintenance on the adjacent 9 hole public course. Even more specific, my wife came home from a trip to the supermarket to inform me there were roadworks taking place close by. They were using a Kubota KX 101, she said. While I was taking in the fact that my wife knew what a Kubota mini excavator looked like, she then added, it looked like an older generation model. She has caught the bug, a bug for which there is no known cure. My wife and I returned from our cruise via Barcelona. Predictably, these days, our flight was delayed, so we were sat in the departure lounge for a few hours. My wife was scrolling through her phone's camera roll, an Italian church, a Neapolitan pizza, Sicilian architecture, the narrow streets of Cartagena, and the tree lined boulevards of Malaga, plus shots of me holding various garish cocktails of every hue. To my right, a young couple, possibly returning from their first holiday together, were excitedly scrolling through Instagram, looking at photos and videos they'd shot themselves and catching up with their friends' summer activities. Me? I was sat there looking at YouTube videos of construction and demolition equipment, a faraway look in my eyes. As I said at the outset, my condition is merely life altering, but there is no known remedy. There is no 12-step program to wean me off diggers, dozers, wheel loaders, and dump trucks. As far as I can ascertain, there are no local support groups s- to set me on the path to recovery. But even if there were, I'm not sure I'd attend. My obsession might be unhealthy, but I have no intention of giving it up. So, this then is my confession, a public acknowledgement of my condition. My name is Mark, and I'm a diggerholic. And if you're still watching this, there's a very strong possibility that you are too.